Yes, it is. Oh, sorry.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I hope we finish today. I would really like us to finish today. You know, I'm not being disrespectful. I've been, my employment is terminated. I haven't been to the office yesterday or today to ensure that, you know, this is government. You know, the moment they tell you, they say, can you please just hand us your stuff and get out the door? And I haven't been able to get out the door. And so I'm hoping that even if we have to take a little longer, if we could be of a mind to finish today.
In civil society, anyone in crime intelligence, anyone in your IDAC unit, have you had any discussion at all about the PKTT and allegations against the PKTT that may have or not to be investigated? Have you had any conversation at all with anybody?
No, Chair.
You haven't. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
On that score, perhaps I don't immediately have it now, and I'm interested in the response you just gave, Commissioner Baloyi. Are you aware of an interview on TV, I don't remember which channel, of Mr. O'Sullivan claiming that on these matters, including the hiring of Brigadier Mkwele, that he had discussions with inter alia IDAC? Are you aware of that interview or that claim by Mr. O'Sullivan? And whether or not you are aware of it, perhaps I'll take it further. Did you have any discussions, you being IDAC, of course, with Mr. O'Sullivan regarding these matters, the investigations that IDAC is conducting, and how it came to conduct them? And if you had any such conversations, can you provide the context?
No, I haven't had conversations.
But is it I personally or IDAC?
I personally. I cannot dispute he might have engaged IDAC staff.
Maybe let me ask, are you aware whether he has engaged? Let's ask more positively. Are you aware whether Mr. O'Sullivan has had any engagement of any sort with your IDAC people, not you, because you say you haven't, with your IDAC people?
I am aware, Commissioner Baloyi, that he would have had from time to time engagements with investigators.
Relating to these matters?
I don't know if it relates to this matter on PKTT or which matter.
The crime intelligence matters that arise, that we are dealing with, that we've been dealing with for the many days that you've been there.
Yes, so I'm not aware what he engaged them on, but if he said he met with them, then I have nothing to gainsay it. And so what he would have discussed with them, but I think I did say to the evidence leader that if he had a discussion, the likelihood would have been with Mr. Rapeso.
Why Rapeso?
Because he had been in IPAT for a long time, and I know that Mr. O'Sullivan and IPAT had a relationship of sorts over the years. So the most familiar person he would have been would have been Mr. Rapeso in terms of this matter. I know he knows other people in IDAC. So we'd have to just check with Mr. Rapeso that whether they had a conversation.
Okay, even accepting that for a moment, who is Mr. O'Sullivan within the law enforcement environment? Why would IDAC be discussing its ongoing investigations with him? And on what basis would that happen? And you suggesting possibly Mr. Rapesu and others, would you consider it appropriate for any one of them to be having this engagement with Mr. O'Sullivan?
it's not an if they had an engagement, it wouldn't have been about the investigations. It would have been if Mr. O'Sullivan spoke to IDAC investigators purporting to give them information. That would have been the only basis on which he would have had to engage. As can anybody from outside bring information, but not that they've brought the information and you then discuss if there is a relevant investigation pertaining to that matter, that you discuss it with him. You don't discuss it with him or any other outsider. The rule is not different.
So then is it safe to assume that if he had done so, I don't know what discussions you suggest he had with IDAC, then if he's giving information, that information would find itself into a relevant docket?
It should.
And should we land at a place where there is no documentary proof in any docket that there was such an engagement, then how do we explain away those engagements?
If he's had engagements, they would have, if they had engagements with him, it would depend on the value of what came out of them. A lot of the time it might just be mind over matter, not substance, that then didn't have to be dealt with. But if there was substance to it, and if it was in any way able to amplify or corroborate something in the investigation, it would move into the investigation. The investigators would make that assessment, Chair.
So where he claims, if he were to claim that he was having, there were meetings with IDAC, that wouldn't be entirely correct. That's because once you call it a meeting, you're sort of formalizing the engagement. Would you still accept the possibility of him having meetings, whether at his offices with IDAC or at IDAC's offices? What would your comment to that be? I'm just interested to trying to establish the relationship IDAC has with Mr. O'Sullivan based on an interview he once had, and engagements here. By here, I take it his the institution he represents, or is a part of, with IDAC. So I thought you might shed some light on that relationship, however formal or informal.
If he met with the investigators, it would have had to have been for information sharing. I can't see what else. Not being part of them, I'm thumb-sucking, which is wrong.
But you haven't had such engagement with him on behalf of IDAC?
As the head of IDAC, no.
You say as a head of IDAC, in what capacity have you as a matter of interest?
We've had engagements with him in the past on other matters when we were in the DSO. The Celebi matter comes to mind, and there were other matters that would have been referred. I'm not sure about the matter against Major General Solly Lazarus, but we have had engagements previously with Mr. O'Sullivan, including that he did serve the ID with a document, and that was as far as the IDAC engagement went.
You sometimes refer to yourself as the ID. Which ID are you talking about now? Not you.
When he served the ID with a document for information.
Who's that? Which ID is this here? Is that the
investigating director, me.
Or the ID you're referring to yourself?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Not the one that's today, the one that was the other day, when she was still the ID.
Okay. As long as the commissioners understand, don't mind me. Commissioner Kumalo, you wanted to deal with the annexure still.
Advocate Johnson, on the issue of Mr. O'Sullivan, it was
the person who authorized this Section 28 have absolutely no recollection why it is you authorized investigations into the PKTT and how its members are appointed and the like. You suggest that it's Mr. Perumal who would have told you. Once again, I ask you, when should Mr. Perumal be sitting where you are and be confronted with the same question? And he says, I have absolutely no recollection. What do you suggest the commissioners make of all this? Both of you, the only people who were in that conversation that can explain away paragraph 6, say you both don't have a recollection. And if that is the case, you're discussing it amongst yourselves become irrelevant because neither can remind the other. Where do we land?
Or worse still, Advocate Johnson, he doesn't say he has no recollection, but he says, I never said anything about this. Please.
Indeed. Thank you, Chair. That's the question. Please guide the commission as to what it must make of the investigation into the PKTT and how it came about and the basis thereof.
So I can, commissioners, only work on the basis of what I get from the rest of the team, which is he compiled this. So for him to then indicate he has no idea, I do not see how he's going to be able to indicate he has no idea. But if we both don't have an idea, I think then Commissioner's going to have to make a referral for some kind of treatment at a facility, because all of us can't be sitting here.
For both of you, or he just him?
No, so on a lighter note, I have to take it from where it comes, Commissioner. His fellow investigator says he's compiled this. And so he'd have to give an explanation. Whether or not it is one that is accepted is a different story, Commissioners and Council, but there is no way that he won't have an explanation for this.
Please make me understand. Why does he bear the full responsibility to remember what your conversation was about? The conversation was between the two of you, but you don't bear that responsibility. It is enough for you to say, I don't remember. Why does he assume the full responsibility for that conversation?
Not because I don't bear the responsibility. It's because I have many conversations on many matters. And so the investigators invariably would engage. Either they would have kept notes and or because it is their matter, it is easier for them to engage me. We engage as we do, and then I'm able to, in their presence, having had that engagement, sign the Section 28. So I'm not running away from having a responsibility. It's the number of things they present versus what I have to deal with.
Let me take it a step forward. And if he were to come here, we are now in the arena of conjecture, accept. If he were to come here and say, now I do recall that the ID and I had a full engagement on it and I explained why it is necessary to obtain those documents from PKTT. If that were to be the answer, what do you want the commissioners to make of that? Do you suggest that the commissioners should reject it? And I suggest that, in turn, that you cannot, because you don't remember what the conversation was about. Or so what do you... You are head of a very powerful institution, and I personally can learn a lot from you. So maybe you may just cast some pearls of wisdom the direction of the commissioners if you are so inclined. Thank you.
It would become important why this was put in. And where did he get this information from? Because I also don't run away from the point that the chair made. Were they having engagements with other people? How did it come about that this became a pertinent thing? And then talks to the question or the summation by Commissioner Khumalo, is there, so did you say, Commissioner Khumalo, underhand or third hand? I don't know.
A hidden hand.
Sorry, I got both hands wrong. That there is a hidden hand. Because that is an engagement this commission would be fully entitled to have and might arrive
and
at an answer.
By extension, you are suggesting that should it be concluded that there is a hidden hand, you have neither any knowledge of that hand nor are you a part thereof. Is that what you are suggesting?
Correct.
But that potentially your investigator, starting with Mr. Perumal, could potentially be involved in that or have knowledge of that underhand.
And have knowledge of things that we didn't have knowledge of.
It sounds like you are you throwing your investigators under the bus, or am I misreading you?
You're absolutely misreading.
Please help
because
me.
We have to work on who was responsible. I've asked a whole lot of them. If the last person there is Perumal, it means Perumal must account. If the issue was, it was Mr. Padiachi, I would have indicated Mr. Padiachi has to account, together with myself. And so it's about, Council, we've agreed that if there's items on which I myself do not have direct knowledge, we should make sure that those who have the direct knowledge are at least mentioned to the Commission. I'm saying it is in that light that we'd have to ask Mr. Perumal.
Can I just follow up on that answer? But in fact, it was going to be a follow-up on your answer to the chairperson earlier. But now that you've said it, you must have direct knowledge because you were briefed before you approved this summons. So you're the right person to look to give an explanation on your summons. We're not at the point where we are asking Mr. Perumal what informed him including it in the summons. That's not the discussion we are having. The discussion we are having is why did you approve it in the summons? So you must have had knowledge of what this is about. You said to the chair at the end of your discussion, you said, yeah, Chair, I don't have a reasonable explanation for this as matters stand. I think, speaking for myself, I'm interested in the explanation, reasonable or unreasonable. There is an explanation for this. You must have an explanation for this. So the topic doesn't end at, well, I don't have a reasonable explanation. I see I messed up. You must have an explanation what was going on when you approved this. And it is that explanation.
25. He was on Newsroom Africa, one of those late evening programs, and he said there, I've met with IDAC several times and I've given them documents. So I'm assuming that when you saw that on TV or when somebody told you about it, you would have been interested to know who at IDAC is meeting with Mr. O'Sullivan. Were you not interested at all?
I can't recall the interview, but if he said he was meeting with IDAC several times, the one person that I do discuss it with would be Mr. Sissoko to find out if Mr. O'Sullivan engaged with anyone in IDAC.
Yes. And then in relation to these cases, did you meet and discuss them with General Khan?
No.
Do you know that members of IDAC met and discussed these cases with General Khan?
What I am aware of, Chair, which is what I had to do to prepare for the commission, because I don't read the dockets, and I wanted to know if they had an engagement with General Khan on any of the CI matters. And I give you the feedback as I was given the feedback. They had conducted most of the investigations, I think in the Mokwele matter. I speak under correction. And they then found a document purporting to be in his name. And it is on that basis that Mr. Padiachi and Mr. Perumal engaged him, to take an affidavit. And an affidavit was taken for that matter. I'm not sure if other affidavits were taken for other matters.
Do you know that they showed him the Mokwele docket or the investigation, the inquiry file? Do you know that General Khan was shown the Mokwele inquiry file?
No, sir.
Do you know that in his affidavit he was required to comment on the suitability of Brigadier Mokwele?
No, I'm not privy to the details they discussed with him or documents they may have shared.
And do you know that the charge sheet actually mirrored General Khan's affidavit? So IDAC's charge sheet in the Mokwele matter mirrored the affidavit by General Khan?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, this HR-related issues, I think Commissioner Baloy sometime last week raised this issue with you. If we go to page 3434 of the same bundle, just to show you why Commissioner Baloy was correct and IDAC was incorrect. 3434. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, my 3434 is very small.
No, that's fine. Do you see that it's a provisional report by the Public Service Commission?
I see that.
And it was investigating alleged irregular appointments within crime intelligence. August 2023?
I see that.
But do you see that it related to irregular appointments?
Correct.
In crime intelligence?
Correct.
The very issue which is the subject of Mr. Adams's complaint. And then go to 3445. Are you there?
I'm there.
So just cast your eyes on the finding in 7.1. Do you see that?
Correct.
Yes, and also in 9.1, the recommendation. Do you see that? So by the time Mr. Adams brings these things to IDAC, the Public Service Commission has already investigated them and made recommendations to, among others, the National Commissioner and the Minister. So even if IDAC was not aware of this investigation, what this shows you is that there are other bodies established in terms of the Constitution that are responsible for investigating issues such as irregular appointments within SAPS. It's not IDAC's mandate. Absent the crimes mentioned in Section 7 of the NPA Act, it is not IDAC's mandate to be investigating these issues because there are other bodies that are responsible for these investigations. So what this report, all of it shows you is that exactly what Commissioner Baloy said last week, that the moment this came to IDAC's desk, IDAC should have said, but these are not our issues, let's refer them to bodies that are responsible for investigating these issues. And there would have been no need for that summons that we see on 3360 and the annexures that follow all the way up to 3363, because all those issues about performance assessments, about deviation, appointment deviations, all of those issues, those are matters for the Public Service Commission, not for IDAC.
And with your leave, Commissioner Khumalo, if I may point out, at item 11 of the same report, this is a report of August 2023. So the employment of Khumalo in that position was resolved by the PSC already in August 2023. And almost 2 years later, IDAC wants to revive this issue, revives the issue, culminating eventually in his arrest in June 2025. Do you see the problem of crossing lines and not performing strictly in terms of your statutory mandate?
Yes, correct.
Maybe also for completeness, and it has a bearing on my earlier question about whether you met and discussed with a number of people, and I mentioned names, to mention for completeness that at paragraph 2.1, the PSC records that the complaint was lodged by Miss Mary DeHaas. You see that at page 3437. Just I'm mentioning it for completeness.
Sorry, 3437.
Paragraph 2.1. It says the complaint was lodged on the 23rd of December 22 by Miss Mary Dihas.
I see that, Commissioner.
Let's go back to 3445. Are you there?
I am there.
I'm going to ask you to do three things very quickly. Please read 7.1 into the record, and then read 9.1, and then read that date on 3446. My expectation would have been certainly after 6 July last year, and allegations made against IDAC, that as head of IDAC, you would be more hands-on because the J50 we're talking about goes to the heart of the allegation made against IDAC a year ago. So I would have expected that the head of IDAC would say to her team, brief me on this matter so that I'm up to speed, so that if I need to account either to the ad hoc or to this commission, I'm fully appraised of what the situation is. So the fact that they are still doing things and you're not sure or you are not aware what is it that they are doing, it creates a difficulty because now even with the summonses, when you come here, you are unable to answer because all you can point to are the briefings, nothing in writing that was given to you. And it makes it difficult for us to then assess who is accountable for these decisions, who's accountable for this conduct, and if there are rogue elements within IDAC, who holds those rogue elements accountable if it's not the head of IDAC?
Two, and then there's the other matters that I have given you. They didn't have, it's four files.
Yes.
Langlaagte has forklift and contracts. And the one matter that we did give as well, that wasn't Langlaagte, yes, that makes it 6, is the matter we disclosed on Sunday evening, Chair, where we indicated it is still under consideration, but it does deal with appointments and vetting. That matter is still under investigation. That would then make those matters 6.
Okay. Please turn to file 2, page 512, a document that we've all become fairly familiar with. That is 512, file 2. That would be Mr. Adams' section 27 referral. Paragraph 5. Page 514, Mr. Adams states that he suspects that some funds became taken unlawfully from the secret fund and given to Police Minister Becky Cele. Then the next allegation is the former police minister was also involved in appointing General Khumalo as the divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence without an interview process and without Khumalo having worked as a senior manager in crime intelligence. So I read that to be two complaints. For my current purposes, I'm interested in the second, which really relates to how General Khumalo was appointed as the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence by the former police minister. And I'll stop there. The second complaint is, as I've just summarized it. And that particular issue, we don't have a supplementary affidavit to provide any further detail. As paragraph 5 is currently worded, how does that bring the matter within the mandate of IDAC? The fact that the former police minister appointed General Khumalo as the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence without an interview process and without General Khumalo having worked as a senior police manager in crime intelligence.
I know that commissioners will correct me if yesterday I think I did recollect touching on it and indicating that this would become one of those matters where, with regards vetting and appointment, the matter would have to, it doesn't fall within the mandate, and the matter would have to be dealt with as we discussed, commissioners, with the Mokwele matter, the standing order, and a recommendation of what must happen with that. And I said in a similar vein that that must happen then with the Langlaagte matter with regards to the forklift. I just have to say here, I don't have an official position, but what I must do responsibly in a handover is write these up before the end of this week. I'm not sure who would act in that position, but write these up, summarize my point of view as conveyed to the commission with what I conveyed should happen, and have that matter then escalated to the acting and copied to the national director, because that would be the only safeguard I have, commissioners.
8-9. Now, in relation to the paragraph 5 of Mr. Adams's affidavit, that first part, where Mr. Adams indicated that he suspected that some funds were being unlawfully taken from the secret fund and given to the police minister. Just bear with me. Let's start at page 587.
Perhaps for clarity, former minister.
Former minister, indeed, Chair.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Chair. Former minister. Let's start at 587, at the top of 587. This is a question from Mr. Ngola, and he asks, I quote, "Is it part of Adam's complaint that there was apparently a motor vehicle that was procured unlawfully through the PKTT funds, which is privately used by alleged former minister Cele?" Your response is not about a vehicle for the previous minister, no. He asks, is it not a part of the complaints? You say not that aspect. Which aspect then is part of the complaint? Because the paragraph 5 simply says there's a suspicion that funds are being taken from the secret fund and given to the former minister, Becky Cele. So it would appear Mr. Ngola had an idea that funds may have been used to purchase a vehicle from former minister Cele, and you clarify that is not part of the complaints. You said not that aspect.
Because
so that would suggest that there is a complaint regarding the unlawful use of the secret funds, but for a different purpose to benefit Minister Cele.
I understood that funds were allegedly taken to benefit, the former minister. When I say not that aspect, it is not clear from Adam's statement what the funds would have been used for.
Yes.
And that was my my stipulation, because I couldn't determine from what we had that a vehicle had in fact been procured for the former minister, even if the allegation that secret funds were taken and used for him and or given to him, I couldn't say with certainty or any clarity that it was about a vehicle.
So I shouldn't understand your response to ad hoc to mean not the aspect of buying a vehicle for former Minister Cele, but for another aspect or other aspects, which I don't disclose. Am I understanding you correctly?
That is correct.
Now, it is the other aspects that you did not disclose that I'm interested to hear about.
So, and that goes to the question that, or the request I made to Commissioner Baloy for me to be able to get clarity, because I go only on what he said about the secret funds, and I would just require that detail of what those aspects, if any, have been brought to date. But at that time, I didn't have details of aspects, Chair.
So, I hear your response. Considering your changed status with the institution IDAC, would you be able to access documents relating to these matters as a matter of interest?
I can make a request through Mr. Maga to Mr. Sissoko, and he is very helpful. If he's able to trace them, Chair, he will most certainly do.
So okay.
In fact, I did, off the record, speak to him yesterday to indicate that we might have to work through him, given that I do not have access to the documentation or documentation that might be required. So I'll do that through Mr. Maga.
Understood. Let's move then to page 58, the notion of deviation to headhunting.
Correct. At least in our space, we tend to, it's easier to use that word.
Now, is headhunting in specific circumstances, is it per se illegal, unlawful? Is it supported by law that the right authority may elect to headhunt?
It is supported by law, provided that there's certain prescripts that must be adhered to. So if those prescripts are not adhered to, then it makes it an unlawful exercise.
An irregular, yes. But then we know, having dealt with paragraph 5 of Mr. Adams's affidavit, that this is purely a question of how General Khumalo was appointed by the former Minister of Police, and I think we have agreed that that would not necessarily fall within the mandate of IDAC. You recall when we were looking at the suspicion that Mr. Adams has expressed at paragraph 5.
Yes.
The fact that you ask for the detail here and the documentation to support that deviation, quote unquote, does not in and of itself bring it within the ambit of IDAC. So you were acting outside your mandate there?
No, Chair. We needed to consider whether or not, in terms of the the allegations of more especially the fraud and or corruption, if in the alleged deviation that had taken place.
Where does the fraud and corruption come?
I understand it.
Also, my apologies. Now you are imputing corruption in the deviation and fraud. Where do those notions now come from? We start from paragraph 5 of the referral affidavit. We don't have a supplementary affidavit. We have just established on the issue of the appointment of General Khumalo. How do we even land on fraud or corruption? We've just, I think, agreed that deviation, which is headhunting, properly executed and following applicable prescripts is permissible, when did we get to fraud and corruption, and how?
Can we just,
This summons that speaks to General Jacobs, when there is no basis whatsoever, that's one. Two, on a matter that on the face of it doesn't fall within your mandate, the issues about why he refused to return. I have to assume you have read these documents when you sign them. They are presented to you, you are briefed. I must assume you ask questions.
Yes.
Because you read them. Okay. What explanation? Because the Jacobs thing is very jarring. It doesn't arise from any of the documents in front of you. What questions did you ask about why he's there? If you didn't already know.
I did not already know, but if I can recollect my engagement with the investigator who brought the document for signature, is the explanation that I did provide Commissioner Baloy, that they wanted to determine why he was not going back, why he couldn't go back, and because that would then either legitimate the deviation, that you have someone in the post who has now been moved, refuses to come back, and then that deviation becomes legitimate. But if the person is not in the post, but is being precluded from coming to the post, it means that the deviation in itself is irregular.
So
that is the engagement I had and recollect.
So you were told we are looking into the Jacobs matter because we have been informed that he's precluded returning into his post. Is that what you were told?
Yes, and that is why there have to be this deviation of an appointment of Lieutenant General Khumalo.
And the investigator who presents this to you and tells you this is whom amongst your investigators? I'm sure they didn't come as a team. Someone presents this summons to you. Who does? And who tells you that?
See, on the face of the summons, it is Investigator Mlambo.
Do you say that because it says inquiries?
No, I'm saying on the face of it, it is Investigator Mlambo.
Yeah, what I'm asking.
I cannot say that he was the only person. He came with the summons and that he was the one who briefed me on all the details by himself.
So you
the chances are that Mr. Perumal would have briefed me with Mr. Mlambo because of the detail that I see in here.
The reason you mention Mr. Mlambo is what I wanted to check. The reason you mention him specifically is because at the bottom at page 1, it has him as the person to whom inquiries must be directed.
Correct.
That's why you suspect him.
Yeah, I said, but he would have brought the summons, but I do not say that he would of necessity have been the one that gave me this detailed briefing. There's a lot of detail in here.
Yes.
And I would expect that detail I got either from Mr. Perumal or from Mr. Padiachi with the leading investigators.
Okay, thank you.
In fairness to Mr. Mlambo did carry out a bit more of the administrative functions.
Yes.
And we cannot impute this to him.
So Chief Perumal and Colonel Padiachi, one of them or both of them would be the people that have compiled this list of what is required from the National Commissioner who's being summoned to an interview.
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Sorry, please make me understand this. You say Mr. Mlambo was on the administrative side, which is why you say the likelihood is that you would have been briefed by Colonel Padiachi or Chief Perumal. Looking at the foot of this page 3361, against inquiries where Mr. Mlambo's name appears, it says senior investigator.
Yes.
Make me understand why you say Mr. Mlambo was on the administrative side and therefore would not.
And not to be obstinate, I really rely on what, I rely on a briefing. What I'm saying is, I would have asked questions about this. I need to engage Paramount. What did we talk about this? And for this to land here, for me to have attested my signature. I was able to explain the other things, including about Jacobs. I'm unable to give Chair a reasonable explanation.
You are stating what IDAC was not investigating in the past tense. So I understand that to mean that even at the time you signed the summons, that was your understanding. PKTT is not being investigated, correct?
Okay.
It is exactly for that reason that I say to you, the answer for authorizing paragraph 6 cannot lie in a briefing that you might have been given. It cannot. That briefing would have been irrelevant to what was being investigated, correct?
Correct.
Now, if it were irrelevant, paragraph 6 would also have been irrelevant in terms of what you required for purposes of your investigation, correct?
Correct, sir.
Now, it must follow automatically then that you ought not to have authorized paragraph 6 of the summons, correct?
I agree with the Chair.
Yeah. So, are you able to explain then? Because, again, I repeat, the briefing is totally irrelevant. On what basis then did you authorize paragraph 6 of the summons?
I don't have an explanation for you, Chair. Not